It's the Brad and John Show.
Brad and John Show for Monday, TGIM Monday, the 27th of October. This is the C Block, the Charlie Block. John, on Friday, I gave a source that told me, and John will never guess who this source was. John gave me...
Boy, it's so hard to guess who it was. Go ahead, Brad.
I had a source tell me that on Mike Carter's TV show that Steve Ehlmann announced that he was officially back in as a candidate for the county executive race in 2026. And that turned out not to be the case. And
what a surprise, Brad. I can't believe that you would relay something incorrectly.
And the person who, well, I was just giving. So once again, this is a source who's on the inside, shall we say?
Yeah, obviously.
You don't believe.
And your hearing at your age and your ability to cognitively process what someone said, that's top notch, right, Brad?
John, I have to be honest with you. I've recently undergone a hearing examination because of the fact that, keep in mind, through my life, I've had all these jobs where I blasted my eardrums with headphones like I'm wearing right now, studio monitor speakers, lawnmowers, power equipment.
DJs? You were a DJ for many years.
I spun records at clubs. At when John was a little kid, his mom used to bring him to watch me perform out of the distillery, where Jane Duker's parents were my boss. You know,
at the barn at Lucerne.
Yeah,
a young John Combest learned his moves there.
Right. And so I won't say who this person was, but all I'm saying is on Friday afternoon at 2:39, I got a text from Mike Carter. Yes, Mr. Mike Carter, Mr. 1-800-DON'T-BLOW, whatever his number is. And he showed me, it had a link to his YouTube channel, which had Judge Mike Carter talks with Mayor Guccione and County Executive Ehlmann about St. Charles County. And in a little subsequent follow-up text, Mike says, Ehlmann says he might. That's all. So essentially, he's not in yet. He's still on the outside.
Yeah,
so,
and Brad, did you take, and I already know the answer to this, did you take a look at what day that interview was posted?
What day?
No, you didn't.
I did not.
And it was posted in early September. So I did the math this morning, Brad. It was posted 48 days ago, which is roughly 7 weeks ago. So by the time, let's come up with a code name for your source here. If you had a type of pasta that was maybe Finelli, and it was the son of our higher power, you might call it, Christ O Finelli, maybe. Let's just come up with Christ O Finelli. Brad,
who could that be?
The interview that Mike Carter did with Steve Ehlmann, we could assume now it was taped about 8 weeks ago. And so, of course, it was not news. And I would like to point folks to the glossary. Brad, you came up with the glossary at bjshow.co. Recently, we've added stuff on there. Brad added jam fob,
right,
which is John always makes fun of Brad. And then I add Deedum Tots, which stands for, we've discussed this many times on the show. Hey, did I ever tell you about Country Club Car Wash? Deedum Tots, Brad. So the newest edition, thanks to, maybe a Christ O Finelli pasta, is BFT. And that stands for Boomer Facebook Telephone. And here's the definition on the glossary. Boomer Facebook Telephone is a communication network favored by Brad, in which geriatrics relay, quote, news, unquote, found on Facebook. Example, in October 2025, Brad said, an ex-state rep's mom said, St. Charles County Executive Steve Ehlmann said on Mike Carter's Justice for Journalism show that Ehlmann was running for re-election. Spoiler, Carter confirmed to John the announcement didn't happen. So BFT, Brad, a game of Boomer Facebook Telephone. One old person will see something on Facebook, misinterpret it, share it with another old person, who then shares it on the radio, and we have a game of BFT, Boomer Facebook Telephone.
John, I was thinking about you this weekend because I cleaned out one of my vehicles and I found my old cane that I used to use. I really screwed up my leg probably about 8 or 9 years ago, and I could barely walk.
Yeah, did you beat something with it?
And I had a cane, and I thought to myself, you know what? Next time I see John, I should show up with this cane. John, how you doing, buddy? You're looking spry.
And then cane me.
And then hit you over the head with my cane. Okay. But see, here's
I can't believe that a couple boomers got something wrong from Facebook?
When you
Who
got
would have ever guessed? Maybe Victory Enterprises can weigh in on that and talk about phone calls that they disregarded.
no, hold on a minute now. I've proven that one. And
Yeah, I heard from the principals involved, Brad. And unlike you, I don't share private conversations on the air. Go ahead. You were going to make another point.
Hold on a minute. Let me cough. I told you the story with Chris Cook. An interesting thing
Yeah, that was a great story. And you know what, Brad? I linked to it Friday, and if people want to hear you resuscitate the story, they can go to johncombest.com today, and they can read a link to they can find a link to Friday's show where you go through your whole dissertation.
It's funny because when I was putting the show together, I listened to that again. And I guess here's the problem that I had with your response, John. Your response was that you said, and here, let me recap this.
Go ahead and repeat the story.
I run into Chris Cook. I've never met the guy. I'm out at the debate out at one of the parkways out there on Clayton Road. I always get confused by which parkways that is.
Yep, that's not important. Keep going.
And he comes up to me. I didn't know the man. Very nice. Tells me he's listening to the show. He's chief of staff for Ann Wagner's office, 2nd District Congressman. Couldn't have been a nicer guy. Complimented me and you on the show.
And what happened? Let's get to it.
And he said, I got some money coming up for the election. I'll throw you some advertising money. I go, great. I didn't get anything. And about 2 weeks before the election, I called him up and I said, hey, Chris, I'm going to be a jerk. But, told me you're going. He says, well, you didn't get to buy? So what turned out is he gave his instructions to the advertising agency or the media buyer, whoever it was, and they did not buy us. And John said, well, what's wrong with that? Well, John, in your corporate life, when you work for Monsanto, if you gave instructions to a vendor and say, do X, Y, and Z, and they say, we're only going to do X and Y, we don't think Z's right, would you say, oh, that's right, you're the vendor, you know better than me, the guy who's signing your check?
Hey, Brad, I think every relationship that a client has with an ad agency or an ad buyer is unique. And I can't speak to how Chris communicates with his ad buyer, but I would imagine I definitely, Brad, went to our ad people and said, hey, I think we should advertise with an old man that runs I literally said, there's an old man that runs the station. He literally cannot produce us ratings, but he comes to our events. He's a really swell guy. And I had our media buyer say, okay, we could toss him a little bit of money, but if he can't prove ratings, and I'm like, hey, understood. So your point is taken, Brad. And I think that we covered that sufficiently. And folks can go to our YouTube page and listen to, it was in C Block. And you went through a unfortunate thing where you read Ben Brown's private text on the air. We went through a whole thing and folks can find it. But you're right, Brad. If a client came to an ad buyer and said, I want you to buy these folks, you would expect them to execute it without deleting a particular ad buy.
Well, I will tell you one thing, and I know you're going to jump on me before I get going, but I will tell you that I saw a post the other day on Tom Smith's website. Tom Smith, what would you consider him to be, John? What is he?
Is this a real story or not?
Yes, it's a real story. What are you talking about?
Okay.
You're laughing already. I saw, what's his company called?
I'm not telling you because we're not going to besmirch them. Let's call them Yard Signs Incorporated.
Yard Signs Incorporated.
Yard Signs Rule. They're the opposite group of Yard Signs Stock. Go ahead. So he runs Yard Signs Rule.
Right. He's got
and he had some fake ratings because you know what? The next time somebody asks me for ratings, I'm going to ask them, how many times did somebody see a yard sign stuck at the end of a cul-de-sac? You tell me that, and I'll tell you about Nielsen ratings.
No. He's got a joint venture with Flock, F-L-O-C-K, the company that does.
Yeah. What's a joint venture?
The automated license plate reading cameras that are all over the St. Louis area, and people don't realize they're there, but you're probably getting to your picture and your license plate read probably 20 times a day nowadays. But he's got a deal with Flock that he's put an embedded Flock camera into his yard signs, and what happens is it every hour gives you an update on how many people drove by, what kind of car they had, what their driver's license number, what their ethnic composition was, what their yearly income is, how much money they have in the bank, and how they voted in the last 25 elections. It's amazing technology, John.
Yeah, that's a good point, Brad. That's a good point. That's hilarious. Now, can we save that and you could just replay that clip over and over again so you don't have to refresh that analogy?
I will totally agree with you that I was wrong. You need those numbers. And yard sign now with new Tom Smith's new yard. I think it's called yard signometer or something like that. His new yard signs and here's the interesting thing. People now will come to Tom Smith and say, hey, I put the candidate's yard sign in front of my house. And Tom will say, what's your address? And he'll pull it up on the computer. Well, you must live on like the back of a subdivision because you only had 6.2 people drive by today. And we realized that all those cars they drove by were hoopties. They were all 20-year-old cars. And we also did the research on those people that they don't have a college education. They're high school educated. They're in the lower percentile. Matter of fact, right now they're probably on SNAP, but they're not getting their SNAP benefits. You know what? He looked him in the eye and he said, no yard signs for you. No yard signs for you. That's what he said.
That was a great, great diatribe, Brad. I love that. I'm glad that over the weekend you had a little bit of time to cool off and not stew over that.
John, we left the show on Friday. It's interesting. I had people text me, go like, wow, what's John mad at you about? Because of the fact he jumps on my case about the fact that we are not a rated station. And I won't go into the details.
Hey, we should spend more time on the air talking about insider things that aren't relevant to our listeners, like Nielsen ratings.
Okay. Last thing to talk about, maybe we'll squeeze in one more thing. Yesterday, and I was listening to... that's 101.9 or 94.1. It's the refugee station is meaning all the people on there are refugees from 97.1. The J3, which was John and Joe and Jeff, all the people on the air are all refugees from 97.1. They have a show, and I've never heard this before, on Sunday afternoons with Mark Harder. Did you know that he does a show? You know who Mark Harder is, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay. And his guests yesterday were, and I caught my attention because I heard this woman on there, and I didn't, came in the middle of the show, and I heard this woman talking in a very authoritative voice, but by the same point in time, a very likable voice. And I thought to myself, I think I know that woman. And it turned out to be Merrell Hansen. You know who Merrell Hansen is?
I do know the name Merrell Hansen. Who is she?
Merrell Hansen is now on, I guess she's an alder person or a council person. I don't know what they have in Chesterfield. For a while, she was the head of planning and zoning. I think she still sits on the planning and zoning board. But she's an alderwoman or all council person, whatever you want to call her, for Chesterfield. And they had the mayor. Now, the problem is, I didn't catch the mayor's name. Who's the new mayor of Chesterfield? You should know this.
It's not Bob Nation. I forgot who it was.
Okay.
He's got like a very short name, Joe Holt or something like that.
Yes, something like that. Okay, and they were very good together. And what's interesting to me, how I know Merrell Hansen. Merrell Hansen used to be in the radio business. And I'll tell you, here we go again. This is a story I've never told before, John. When I was doing my
Dan Hurt is the guy's name.
Okay, when I was doing my traffic network thing, I dealt with Merrell Hansen because of the fact that Merrell Hansen was the president of Gannett Broadcasting, which was headquartered here in St. Louis. She was the president of all the stations all over the country, headquartered in St. Louis, right there at Corporate Square at Olive and Lindbergh. And even though she had Alan Barklage doing traffic with her, Alan kept bugging her to forge a deal with my company, which we never came to an agreement on. But then what happened was when they switched 55 from country into a talk station, they went CNN Headline News. She had our services, and we supplied the news. We did 2-hour newscasts. My company did newscasts on 55 KSD. And at one point in time, I had a meeting with her, and she says, Gannett really wants to get rid of this station. Would you be interested in buying it? And I said, you talking about like 55 KSD? I can't remember the call letters at the time. I think it was KUSA at the time. And I go, yeah. And she threw out a price. I think the price was $900,000, okay? And I thought to myself, good God, that's a steal. So I called up some of my investor buddies, and I said, hey, you're not going to believe it, but Merrell Hansen has offered me 55 KSD or KUSA, whatever at the time, for $900,000, which includes like 50 acres of a transmitter site over in East St. Louis. Matter of fact, they have a monstrous transmitter site over there and huge old towers. And I called all my investor buddies, and they go, this is the stupidest deal in the world. Who'd buy an old crappy old AM station? Blah, 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 blah. Long story made short, guess who bought the station?
No idea.
The station was sold to the people who left KMOX, Bill Wilkerson and what's her name? What was the lady's name that was on KMOX when time she was like from 24, like you know who I'm talking about. She's on Donnybrook.
Debbie Monterey.
No. Before her. All the refugees. Bob Holder, what was his name? All the kind of
Ann Keefe, was it Ann Keefe?
No, Ann Keefe didn't go over there. But all the KMOX refugees, they didn't buy it at first because they bought WIBV and the signal sucked. So then they bought 550, which at the time I don't know what the callers were. Maybe they were still KUSA. And what did they pay for that radio station, John? Take a guess. What did they pay for that station?
0.0.
$12 million.
Oh, wow.
And once again, my investor buddies called me and going like, was that the same station you said we could bought for $900,000? I go, yeah, and you told me it was worth nothing. It sold for $12 million. So once again, I look back in my history, and Merrell got out of the broadcasting business. I guess she's retired by now, but she's a sharp lady. And what she was talking about on the refugee station was very interesting, talking about all the successes they've had and all the things they're doing in Chesterfield. And they gave some fascinating statistics about how Chesterfield is growing. And they said that within the next 10 years, Chesterfield would grow by 20,000 residents. Can you believe that, John? 20,000.
Yeah, I can. Here's the thing. Everybody wants to go across the bridge because did you know that Westplex 107.1 has a geofence signal?
That's right.
Leave the Westplex and you'll hear static.
Right. But you know what? You can hear it real well in Chesterfield.
Brad, did you stop using that promo? Because I used to be on you every week about how ridiculous it was that you ran a promo that wasn't true. Did you stop using that?
John, I have to tell you, I've kept it on there because
you went to a meeting one time and some nerd came up and was like, I never heard of geofence before. I think it's cool.
It did.
And because you extrapolate everything from one meaningless anecdote, you left it on the air.
You know, yesterday I had a meeting with a couple people. And matter of fact, I had a meeting with a new guy who's putting up a new website called Meaningless Anecdotes. And I go, man, I'm going to invest in your company.
Yeah. Hey, I heard WFMB yesterday, clear as a whistle on 104.5 in Chesterfield yesterday, Brad. And no, you don't need to send me a Wikipedia thing that I'm not going to read about dissonant nutmeg or something. But I heard that country station, WFMB, coming in loud and clear yesterday.
Tropospheric propagation and sporadic key. That's what it is, John. Sporadic key.
Yeah, it's fascinating. WFMB, and they're from Illinois, right, Brad?
Springfield. Yep, WFMB. Yes.
Yeah, I sure hope KFUO doesn't sue them.
Now, I hope like hell it was covering up KFUO's translator, was it? Could you hear them?
I was going. The station in Chesterfield was going back and forth between WFMB and KFUO.
Oh God. Drives me nuts. Okay.
So maybe they can, maybe WFMB can file something against KFUO.
Well, I'll end the show by saying, Merrell, I thought you were very impressive on the show yesterday. I've always been impressed with you. You're a wonderful woman, and I wish like hell I could have bought KSD from you back in the day for $900,000 and then turned it around for $12 million.
I know. It's the same thing as you wish you could have bought that TWA stock if that guy hadn't blocked you, right, Brad?
$1 a share, and it went to $6, and the guy wouldn't let me buy it. Okay. John, say goodbye.
See you tomorrow, Brad.